can't beat a Halloween story that starts in a graveyard digging up a corpse. I thought this was about spooky Halloween stories, not late-stage capitalism being the real horror. Fucking hate useful frameworks, Ben. I hate them. I hate useful frameworks. It feels like I'm in a seminar.
It's weird and sexy as fuck.
Yeah. And he's like, if I can't do sexy murders, I don't even want to have a soul. This is the first comic with boobies in it that I've read in probably 15 years. No racist shit, though. We won't have that.
They're like, get the fuck out.
Writing them in the sky to death. And then they fall out of the sky and get impaled on trees. Do you think those skeleton people on those skeleton horses are a good thing or bad thing? They'll probably end up dead on a spiky tree, but that's fine. That's their own problem.
You could pick this up and read it in an afternoon.
If you can
want to send a chill down your spine. Welcome back to Collecting Issues, where this month we'll be taking a look at Come Find Me, an autumnal offering, collecting 1-to-1 of the special 2024 one-shot by DSTLRY Comics, written and illustrated by Hamlet Machine, Becky Cloonan, Molly Mendoza, Vanessa Del Rey, Celine Loup, and E.M. Carroll.
So the comic book education continues?
We're talking inappropriate comic books. You're into comic books, aren't you? That's comic book shit.
Like in the comic books.
Benjamin, is it Vanessa or Del Rey? Which one is it? A classic. Anyway, Benjamin, look, because this is what you call an anthology, but what I call a collection of little stories, it just about skirts qualifying for Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club, because it is, in fact, in a sense, collecting some issues. One issue.
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah. So this is a series of 6 mini horror stories,
Ben.
Michael. And what better time of year?
Halloween, I'd say.
Well, yeah, probably Halloween. Yeah, Halloween probably would have been a better time. Oh wait, it is Halloween, Michael.
Very good. You've got us with a bit of faux confusion. Benjamin, just shut up for 1 second though. DSTLRY Comics. The fuck is that? In all many ways.
So, Michael, this is a brand new publishing house for the comic book industry. Brand new is a lie, Michael.
Yeah.
It was founded in 2023.
Yeah, that's not brand new anymore.
But quite new. Quite new, Michael. And I suppose it's an evolution of the creator-owned publishing model of Image Comics back in the day.
Oh, go on.
And what this one is based on is fully creator-owned titles, but it follows a very interesting model of limited runs, high-quality formats, and coupled with that, digital reselling rights for buyers.
Oh,
so
what's that mean?
Say again?
What's that mean?
So it means that they have a marketplace where you can resell your digital editions. In other words, the comic runs are limited not only in physical form, but digital form as well.
Oh.
Which is very interesting in terms of an FU to digital rights management, Michael, or adding a little bit of value back to the digital model. Now, in a world of piracy, Michael, who's to say?
Who's to say, Benjamin?
Who's to say if that model will work?
Are you saying these are NFTs? Are you saying I have an NFT?
In a sense, I think, yes. I think it's an NFT attempt.
In our limited and poor understanding of what that means, yes.
Yeah. The blockchain.
The blockchain did it. It was the blockchain. Okay,
blockchain.
I get it now.
Yeah, chain of blocks. Blockchain?
Is that what it
is? Blockchain.
Okay, so we're NFT.
Blockchain.
We're crypto bros now then, because we have this comic.
Blockchain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, DSTLRY is a huge attempt to right the wrongs, I suppose, or the exploitation of creators within the comic book industry, which is rampant in certain quarters of existence, Michael. If we're to believe creators. And on this podcast, Michael, Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club, we do believe creators. We believe creators.
Most of them. Benjamin, are you having a go at late-stage capitalism again? Is that what's happening here? I thought this was about...
Michael, you know I love it.
I thought this was about spooky Halloween stories, not late-stage capitalism being the real horror.
You're right, Michael. Let's get back to spooky stories. So the maestro behind this particular anthology is Becky Cloonan. And
George
Becky
Clooney's
Cloonan
daughter.
is... No, not actually.
Oh.
Becky Cloonan is a bit of a... a horror savant within the comic book space, Michael. You will have seen some of her work highlighted by us before, particularly in our 31 Tales of Terror over on Instagram, Michael, where we're highlighting a horror comic a day.
So spooky.
And
Ben,
one of those was...
you've done it. You've nearly done it.
I've done, well, nearly done it. We're on day 27 as of recording. Day 27 as of recording. Yeah, incredible. Dude, such accountability from a 34-year-old man. Unheard of. Unheard of. So, Becky Cloonan is kind of famous for her medieval/folk horror tone that she brings to comics. One of her most successful runs, Michael, is a comic called By Chance or Providence. And By Chance or Providence is 3 medieval/gothic inspired horror tales that are filled with oozing dread.
Oozing dread. Benjamin, now my type of horror is usually more bloody like, oh, it's an American small town and there's a murderer and he's got a big knife or some sort of other gimmick. Is that what you mean when you say medieval or folk comics? Folk horror?
No, Michael. What I mean by medieval or folk horror, medieval and folk horror is a difficult thing to define, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
On this podcast, we're going to use some useful frameworks, Michael, to help us navigate these 6 little stories, all of which are folk and horror inspired. Medieval horror inspired.
I fucking hate useful frameworks, Ben. I hate them. I hate useful frameworks. It feels like I'm in a seminar.
Yeah.
Take that.
You hate them, Michael. You've never been a fan of seminars. Even the ones that I scheduled just between the two of us. Yeah. You often just walk in one door and out the other. It's like that gif of Abe Simpson in The Simpsons where Bart is in the cat house.
Yes, very good. Yeah. I was only at Ben's seminar to get directions away from Ben's seminar. Ben, 6 bloody stories you said. That feels like a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. So I suppose it's collecting stories 1 to 6.
Very good.
Of the 2024 anthology from DSTLRY Comics. But there's 6 different stories, all of which have been penned or created by female and non-binary creators, Michael.
Ooh. I didn't notice, Ben.
Yes. Well, one of the things that Becky Cloonan set out to do is she was put in charge as the curator of this anthology, and to directly quote young Becky Cloonan, Michael, from a place of selfishness, these are my favourite voices in horror comics, and uniting them has been a nightmare come true.
Oh, very good. I see what she's done there.
See what she's done there. So this is her bringing together some of her favourite voices within the horror space within comics. And the 6 stories that we're going to cover today, Michael, are The Devil's Trill, or Devil's Trill.
Yes.
Portorium.
Oh.
Down by the Water.
Yes, with Kylie Minogue.
Cole and Clover.
Sounds like a children's TV show from the 70s. Set in Birmingham.
La Città. Set in Birmingham. Cole and Clover.
Cole and Clover.
This is Cole and this is Clover. You have to imagine 2 puppets.
2 puppets, yeah.
Listeners, on my hands. One is a lump of coal that can talk, and the other is a fluffy little green thing that can talk. Yeah. And then La Città, Michael, is story number 5, and Warmth of the Hunt is the 6th and final nail in the coffin of this particular anthology.
Now, one of my favourite things about anthologies is how you're always guaranteed to enjoy each of the stories equally, because they all have the same level of quality and structure.
So, Michael, this is the risk of all anthologies. Michael's being a little tongue-in-cheek there,
I'm doing a big wink.
This is the risk of all anthologies. There are some excellent entries into the horror genre within this comic, and there are some less on the money.
Yeah, one of them's fucking rubbish.
In the comic. Now, to be very, very clear, this is Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club, where we actually aim to be a little bit positive about whatever we read. Yeah. Overall, I think this is a belter of an anthology. I think the art is amazing. I think the tone is genuinely unnerving in most of the stories. But there is 1 or 2 things here that we're going to pick a bone with. And that's fine. That's fine. The nature of what we do.
Is it?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
But Michael, let's jump into the first one there.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Because this is a weird one to jump into. This is Devil's Trill, Michael, and it's by Hamlet Machine.
Great name, first of all.
And I suppose...
I suspect not a real name.
Not a real name, Michael, an alias for creating comic books. Hamlet Machine is a very popular illustrator and webcomic creator. And they are known for kind of an anime-influenced art style. Their But one of the things that has made their work so popular, Michael, is that it's bloody sexy.
Very sexy.
Bloody sexy
Benjamin,
stuff.
this is the sexiest comic you've let me read since the introduction of modern political correctness.
Yeah, this is sexy. This is sexy as fuck, Michael. And it's weird. It's weird and sexy as fuck.
Yeah.
And I love it. I thought it was a really great, weird Gothic tone. So I think something that's probably important to note here, Michael, is each one of these comics is tapping into a Gothic tone. I think it's fair to say it's a Gothic tone. And what I mean by that is, in particular, in some cases, it's the American Gothic. In this case, I think it's very much the American Gothic tone of the likes of Edgar Allan Poe or Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Set in Prague, Ben, you son of a bitch.
I know it's set in Prague, Michael, but what I mean by the tone is there's an ambiguity to each one of these horror stories. This is not a clear setup and payoff model of storytelling.
No.
In any of the stories.
Some of the stories it is.
Okay, but for the most part, Michael, the focus of these stories is to develop an atmosphere of dread or something awful happening.
Yes.
And I think in terms of Becky Cloonan laying out her stall for what this anthology would be, this is the perfect kickoff.
Yes.
To the anthology.
Becky Cloonan, of course, the daughter of WWE superstar Becky Lynch and George Clooney. But that's neither here nor there. Benjamin, of all of the stories, this is the one that stuck with me the most. This was the one that I think I'll remember. I'll remember this one. It's, first of all, it's not really a story. It is a story. No. It's a story, but it's not a narrative. There's no dialogue, I don't think.
Nope.
There's no dialogue. It's just, It's told from the protagonist's perspective. Protagonist
might be the safest term.
Might be the safest term, but he's definitely not a good egg, Benjamin, is he? He's a bit of a bad egg, in fact.
He's a bit of a Jack the Ripper.
It's a bit of a kind of Faustian story, but what if H.R. Faust, the main character from that type of story, was a bit of a shite? That's why they're called Faustian dramas, Ben, because the main character's name is H.R. Faust. Harold Remington Faust.
Yes.
I'm tired.
Harold Remington Faust, a brand new character for this podcast. So Michael is referencing Faustian pacts there, and it's probably quite important for us to define that just a little bit very, very quickly. A Faustian pact is a bargain struck with a demonic entity, being, or force in which a character is granted their heart's desire, but in a form usually that they would not truck with. And the price of that pact, that bargain, is their soul.
Yeah. But the fella in this, Ben, he's like, yeah, Grant, fuck it. I don't want a soul anyway if I can't have what I want. And what I want is creepy as shit.
So this is sinister as fuck, Michael, in that the protagonist, as you rightly attested, is some kind of serial killer, ne'er-do-well, violator of women, I'd imagine. He just comes across as a bit of a bad egg. And he makes no qualms with that, by the way.
Yeah.
He goes on about how he's, I'm a maestro of murder and death, and I enjoy carving them up. That's what I like to do.
I like the symphony of pain. It's like, oh, you don't seem great.
Yeah, exactly. This, Michael, to me, almost feels like one of the weird fairy tale episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where there's an entity from back in the day, like the Grinning Men or the Smiling Men episode, or even the weird child monster thing in the earlier episodes in the children's hospital. It's an unknowable evil entity that's just rocking around and doing awful things to people, and that's the protagonist of this story.
Yeah, but the twist on this from your usual H.R. Faust story is usually in your H.R. Faust story, the wish maker, the H.R. Faust character, is kind of a bit of a sad sack and kind of the victim and like desperate and putting their soul on the line to try to improve their station. And often it's about some sort of hubris or some sort of coming to realize that the thing that you wanted was less important than love or family or human togetherness. But the guy who makes the pact in this is already a shit. And he's like, if I can't do sexy murders, I don't even want to have a soul. And the thing that he asked for, I don't think it's unique, but the thing that he asks for is the power to become the evil entity that gives him the power. He's like, I want to be just as evil and powerful as you creepy fuck coming out of the shadows with your little skull. It's a very interesting twist on the idea. Like, take it from the demonic entity's perspective. The demonic entity has stumbled across a creature worse than itself.
Yeah, in that... so I suppose the flourish that this particular bad egg has is that he wants to turn people into instruments.
Does he?
And again...
sorry to interrupt, Ben. Keep that thread in your mind, please.
Go on.
But I thought he was going to want to turn them into instruments quite literally. As in, he'd use their hair to make violin strings, and he would... I don't think he does. He plays their suffering, basically. So a little bit of Hellraiser in there.
Very much so. That's actually a spot-on influence for this. This is a weird European post-medieval Hellraiser. He's a gothic little Hellraiser. Yeah. And that's exactly... But it's the origin story of Pinhead, if you want, in that particular case.
No, Benjamin,
my favourite bit about this is...
I've cut across you. Go back to the point you were going to make, though, please.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head. His musician's bent, as it were, I think is to make people howl in pain or cry out in pain. I think he's interested in basically turning them into a flesh organ or something like that.
At the same
Do you
time.
know
Gross.
what I mean? Like,
there's Benjamin. I know you've asked me to stop doing this. I know you've asked me stop bringing everything back to Warhammer, but I don't necessarily think this is inspired by Warhammer. I think Warhammer just... Because the Warhammer universe is a collection of influences. They basically take everything you could possibly take and mush it into one setting. But this guy is very much, for the Warhammer listeners, he's very much a Slanesh demon. Because Slanesh is the god of obsession, of pain, of music. There's a whole subculture of like evil space marines who kill people and turn them into musical instruments to appease their demonic masters. And yet, this guy is still worse, because he's worse than the demons.
So there's a phenomenal piece, I think, and I like that you looked at this from the initial entity's perspective. There must have been a moment for that particular entity where he went, oh, fuck, what?
Oh, no. Oh, what have I brought into the house?
Because... the hook, I suppose, that we've been primed to fall for here, Michael, is that he'll lose. He will get his comeuppance. He will take on an entity that is beyond the ken of his own pain-invoking abilities, and that he'll lose his soul in pursuit of something awful. But that's not what happens. No. He succeeds, and he ascends to a vile being. Yeah. He becomes this weird... Look at that for a page, Michael.
Gross.
It's sexy.
Gross.
It's bloody
sexy,
gross.
Demonic apotheosis.
And Michael, what a way to kick off your horror anthology.
Very
what
good.
A way to do it. It's
very good.
We're a little bit sexy. We're a little bit gross. We're a little bit this. We're a little bit that.
Benjamin,
have some of that.
This is the first comic with boobies in it that I've read in probably 15 years.
There's loads of boobies in this, Michael.
So many.
There's loads.
So many. Usually in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, they're all for it. They're yeah. I mean, it's not sexy in that it's...
Yeah, no, it's too late, man. You can't back down now. You can't back out of this pit you've made yourself.
No, but it's not sexy in a traditional sexy sense. It's sexy in a forbidden erotic kind of sense where it's like...
It's sexy in like Ben's Berlin Holidays ways.
Yeah, Berlin.
Ah, that's Fetish Club.
That's a throwback joke to our other podcast, folks.
Very throwback joke there.
Didn't expect that to rear its head on our Halloween episode. But come here to me, Michael.
What?
We've set out the stall here for what's going on in Come Find Me. And if people have been enjoying this, you might like collecting issues.
We can read things and understand them most of the times, except some.
Except some, and we'll get to that a little bit later in this episode. But if you've been enjoying this episode, and you know anybody who might enjoy comics like Come Find Me, why don't you send this episode to them directly?
It's
Why
just
don't
us
you do
talking
that?
about
It's
it.
just in time for Halloween.
Yeah.
It's just in time for Halloween. This is coming out 2 days before Halloween.
2 days before
2
Halloween.
days
Peak spooky
before
season.
Halloween. It's short. It's scary. It's fabulous stuff. There's a little bit of sexiness in there somewhere, sprinkled in there. If that's not Halloween, Michael, I don't know what is.
What is?
But if you've been enjoying this episode and if you've been enjoying our breakdown, why don't you give us a review wherever you're listening? If you're on Spotify, leave us a comment. What did you think of Come Find Me? What are your favourite horror anthologies? What should we be reading in the future? If you'd like to have your say directly with us on what you thought of this comic, hop up on the Discord.
Hop up on
This
it.
is a monthly comic book club. We want your suggestions. We want your opinions. We want your thoughts on comic books.
Get our
You can take a
input.
look down there at the Substack link where I've written a little essay on folk horror in comic books and how it manifests itself and some of the hits on in there. Take a look at that. It's down below in the Substack link and you can follow along with us there. If you'd like to submit to our Substack, if you want to write about comic books, if you want to have your say on comic books, send us in your essay suggestions. We're not saying they'll definitely get published. I'm going to review them.
Yeah.
But we want to start publishing your thoughts on our Substack. Get on down there.
Get on down
Do
there.
it
No
now.
racist shit, though. We won't have that.
No, I don't want any racist shit. Leave it out.
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 Anyway, Benjamin,
All
next
right.
comic.
Yeah.
This one actually
Yeah,
just has a
so that brings
narrative.
us to this one actually has a narrative, and it's a good old-fashioned tale of guilt and how it haunts us. This is Portorium, and this is Becky Cloonan's contribution to her own curated set of horror stories. And Michael, it's a little bit medieval. It's a little bit Roman-inspired, I think, in places, and it's set around an absolutely classic bit of medieval or ancient civilization custom, which is putting the owl customs tax for the dead over the eyes.
Ah, in the mouth. But yeah, it's the classic grave robbery. Can't beat a Halloween story that starts in a graveyard digging up a corpse.
Yeah, that is spooky. One of my favourite bits about this, Michael, is that each story in this particular anthology is numbered using Roman numerals.
Yes.
And each story is split up by a little bit of marginalia. A little bit of marginalia in each one. A little bit of medieval marginalia. There's some animals going through some antics. For example, in this one, it seems to be a crew of little mices that have various tools, axes, swords, crowns on them. And they're having a look. And the story starts in the marginalia and then carries and drifts into the full tale.
And that's a very good moment, actually. That's one of the best moments. Single pages of this comic book, funnily enough, is the warning to say, what is it? Stop here? Is that what the text says in the marginalia, where the kind of first panel of the comic is not paneled off. It's just happening on the margin pages, which is great. It's really good because it was like, stop here. And for the first time ever reading a comic book, I went, oh, I probably should. I will then, if you insist, because I don't know what's going to be next now. I wasn't expecting that demonic Slaneshi demon prince killer music man. So I don't know what's next. All right, I will stop here. But then I didn't, Ben. I kept reading because it was quite good.
It was quite good. Portorium features around 2 grave robbers, Michael. And one is kind of a veteran grave robber, and the other is a novice, I suppose, if you'd like to look at it that way.
I mean, there's a feeling of father and daughter, but that might be my bloody heteronormative upbringing in a stable family home, that if I see a slightly older man and I got the impression she was kind of being portrayed as a teen. But
yes, I think she's very much a naive child.
Yeah.
Perhaps one that doesn't pay the correct reverence to the gods, Michael.
And
as they should.
There's the classic, father trying to do some work with his child and the child won't hold the torch in the right place, which apparently has been a problem throughout human history, according to this comic, which is fabulous.
I think one of the things that Becky Cloonan does really, really well is grounding her very abstract horror stories in real human connections. So most of her kind of horror comics have a through line of family interaction or of genuine human conversation that you might have. In this case, Michael, you've hit the nail on the head. It is a frustrated father figure, if we want to look at it that way,
A kind of George
who
Michaels
is trying
type
to
character.
get his Exactly. Who is trying to get his ward into the biz, and the ward is having none of it.
She's got them sticky fingers.
One of my favorite bits. Yeah, one of my favorite bits about this is that they open up the tomb, Michael, and they find this freshly, first of all, stunning artwork. Look at that.
Feckin' gorgeous. Ben, can I tell you a little personal story? That guy reminded me of you so much. I know he doesn't look like you, but maybe I was in the like horror fugue. I was like, why is Ben in that? Why is Ben in that coffin? Why is he there? I don't know what it was about it, but just immediately made me think of you. You make of that what you will. But I was like,
you shit. Well, it makes my next point pretty awkward, which is she turns around and says he is handsome, and the father figure has a great moment of, Jesus fucking Christ.
He's dead.
Would you just stop being a teenager for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
He's a corpse. Orcus takes us all as we are. He doesn't care. Stop that.
Stop it now.
Stop trying to ride
Doesn't
corpses.
answer that he's a handsome fella. Benjamin, who's Orcus?
Orcus is...
Yes.
He's very interesting. From Roman mythology, Michael, which is why I drew the parallel with Rome here. He's from Roman mythology, but he's one of the gods of the underworld. And he is, most importantly, Michael, for this story, the punisher of broken oaths. So if you break an oath in Roman myth, Orcus will claim you as a result. He is not to be confused with Pluto, who is the kind of Hades figure within the myth, but he is an aspect of it, if you want, of the dead gods.
So many gods,
things like
these
that.
old-fashioned people. Benjamin, one of the absolute highlights for me, and I think the best bit of this story is it's rare in comics to see a small moment, a single act, like one mistake, to get to see it as a series of small mistakes. She doesn't just, we don't just see her reaching for the coin and then in the next panel she's pocketing it. Or in the final panel we find out she had it the whole time. We actually watch as she argues with herself and with the father, with let's just call him Da, with her Da, because it's not a snap decision. We see her progressing through making the mistake, and each step along the way battling with herself about whether to do it or not. And for a short and sweet little story, it handles that conflict, that internal conflict, very succinctly, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely brilliantly. It slows down. It feels like that moment where the focus pull comes right in on the character's face and you feel the weight of this decision. One of the brilliant things I think that really accentuates the horror of what's going on in that scene is all of a sudden the corpse's eyes snap open, but she's the only one that sees it. So she slips the coin from his lips, and all of a sudden he goes from what was a close-eyed corpse in repose to dead fish eyes just staring out at you, just being like, you shouldn't have done that.
That's why he reminded me of you.
Oh, it's the dead fish eyes.
Dead fish eyes just staring out at you while you're doing something wrong. That's what it was.
Listen, he's not wrong.
Wasn't the handsomeness.
I have big old corpse eyes. It's a whole thing.
Corpse eyes Colopy, that's his Halloween nickname.
And then everyone gets punished, Michael. Everyone gets punished. Da gets a good old Ned Stark treatment in the square, in the piazza. He gets caught, and in fairness, does a very Da thing, and he's like, "Get out of here! Go on, scram, run, flee! You absolute tool! You've really fucked us here. I wish you hadn't done
All
that.
you had to do was pay attention, you dose.
You fucking dose." And then he pays the price, Michael. He gets beheaded in the square, and she has to bear witness to her father figure, or Da in this case, get a good old beheading. And he becomes the haunting force then. So I think from my reading of it, and not to put too much logic into a pretty decent horror story, Michael, he becomes a manifestation of Orcus. And he tells her, "Foolish girl." And the coin gets its first close-up. And the coin is a great little kind of Cerberus-headed demon coin. Fabulous stuff. And then she tries basically to make amends. She goes back to the grave with the beheaded father and attempts to give the coin back. But Michael, Michael,
What?
gods of vengeance aren't known for their clemency if you say sorry.
You know, they're not
how it
the
works.
most chill.
Not how it works. And, of course, Michael, we get a beautiful set of close-ups in the grave. The atmosphere that Becky Cloonan brings to the grave is unbelievable. And in fairness to the colorist on this one, Michael, Lee Lockridge, who we've read numerous comics by at this stage. Lee Lockridge did the six fingers and the one hand, if you remember, the kind of cyberpunk serial killer comic that we covered a couple of months ago. He was one of the colorists on
with
that.
the two stories in parallel. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
Does a phenomenal job of these kind of almost Mike Mignola-esque panels and details that Becky Cloonan includes. There's a lot of Mike Mignola in this. There's a lot of ancient artifacts bearing witness and things like that. And look, it's just a great little thing. I mean, not to spoil it too. Well, we'll spoil it because
you've read it.
You should have read this.
You should have read it. If you're
You've
here,
read it.
if you're doing a book,
Should
it's
have
a
read
book club, Ben. They've read it.
They've read it. But not to put too fine a point on it, Michael, she gets a big old Poian death. She gets dragged into a grave and is left there to moulder.
Yeah.
And the refrain of the comic is, foolish girl, foolish girl, foolish girl. And she gets dragged in and she suddenly takes on the visage of the once handsome man that she saw in the tomb.
It was him the whole time.
Yeah, and the phrase is, the fingers in your mouth taste like your own.
Yeah.
That's the final clang of the clock here. And yeah. Ugh.
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 But pretty great. Pretty great. The longest story in the anthology and a bit of a belter, Michael. So we've had 2 for 2 there. Pretty solid, horrific tomes. And a great feeling of atmosphere throughout each one. That moves us on to story number 3, which is Down by the Water. I think this might be the one that upset me the most. Personally. Just because of the fish eggs. And we'll get into that in a second. Fish eggs creep me out, man. I don't get it. But this one is by Molly Mendoza. And Molly Mendoza has also been on this podcast before, Michael.
Who's Molly Mendoza? What's Molly Mendoza up to?
This is Down by the Water. And Molly Mendoza did the abstract comic Skip, which featured in our first season of Collecting Issues many years ago. It was the weird little comic where a young boy finds himself in another realm and is accompanied by a strange ghost, and it's a journey of discovery. You might not remember it, Michael. It was very dense at the time, and our first season of Collecting Issues many, many years ago.
I do not remember that at all. I have
Molly Mendoza was the artist.
Look, they're here, Ben. The Collecting Issues are here. I can probably find it, but
They're right behind you,
they're
man.
literally here. But I have no memory of that whatsoever.
But yeah, Molly Mendoza anyway is a cartoonist and illustrator recognized for some incredibly vibrant and fluid kind of art styles
Ben,
that she brings to her comics.
But shut up a second, because the biggest shock of this is when you turn the page after 2 stories of kind of grim, dark, gothic, and all of a sudden everything is kind of pastel and blue and red. And the biggest shock of this is the sudden change in color scheme.
Absolutely. It's a big shift, Michael. It's an almost Raphaelite light version of art styles here from like the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. It's that idea of water and strange haunting fairy tales that come from the water. So it's a really interesting look at that and a beautiful way to bring it to the comic. So detailed, Michael. So many layered little images throughout. I really found Molly Mendoza has a beautiful rendering style. Very intricate, very detailed, lots of hatching, a gorgeous mastery of colouring, which I thought was really, really stunning. Again, this is quite short, Michael.
Yes,
it's 4 pages, I think.
No, it's a bit more than that. I would have said 10.
Is it?
I would have said 10.
Well, I think it's. Well, I'll have a look now.
Count.
But,
Let's count the pages live on the podcast for the listeners. They'll love it.
All right, yeah, this is peak podcasting.
Peak
folks.
podcasting. Let's count them pages.
It is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, Michael.
Fuck. I hate being wrong. Is it only 4 pages? Well, look, I wasn't wrong. I was actually making a point that despite being only across 4 pages, this had quite the impact. Yeah, I got out of that.
It does. Yeah, that's nicely done, Michael.
Thank you.
But this is a lover's story gone wrong, if you want, Michael, I suppose.
It's like that time when Nick Cave drowned Kylie Minogue.
It is a bit like that. It feels like Eliza Rose, the story of Eliza Rose. Nick Cave's, her name was Eliza Rose, what's it called? They call me the Wild Rose. It's called The Wild Rose, I think, that story. But it's about a man who falls in love with a woman and then strangles her down by the
river.
down by the rose.
Yeah.
Rose Cloud.
No
Lovely
good.
stuff. There's a little bit of that to this, Michael. There's a little bit of that. There's a man grieving. Henry is his name.
Yes.
And his lover drowned. That's our opening page.
He
And
appears to be a bisexualist, Ben.
A bisexualist, Michael. He's into everybody. Into everybody. And it's a beautiful panel of grief, I suppose, Michael. The lake itself where the lover drowned is illustrated in beautiful kind of cross-hatching. There's a little pile of frogs there that's a little bit unnerving. That's enjoyable.
It's highly
And then
unnerving. That's the wrong pile of frogs. That's not what frogs are supposed to be doing. Making creepy
frogs
piles
don't
and
hang
looking
around
at
in
you.
piles, do they?
No, frog pile. Have you ever heard the term
Um,
a frog pile? Other than mad as a pile of frogs?
Possible. I've been called that several times, Michael, so it really,
Ben.
at this point, is old hat for me. But anyway, sorry, yes.
Shut up for a second. How did he drown, though?
So it doesn't necessarily say how she drowned. It just says that she did drown, Michael. And that, I suppose, is where you were drawing the parallel to other male murdering narratives.
But
That's
is
the thing, because it's
the lover's a man, isn't it? The lover's the first one who drowned. I thought that was a man.
I believe it. I think it might be.
Or
I
maybe
don't know if it's
maybe a gender non-binary person. Who knows? Doesn't matter.
yes, gender fluid for a weird lake entity. Why
Very
not?
good.
Why
Fluid.
not?
I get it. I get what
makes
you've done
sense.
there. Very clever.
But while he's mourning in this lake, his lover seems to come back to him and says, "Why are you crying? I found that ring of mine." So she went to look for a ring, Michael.
Oh, you're sticking with she. Are you?
Again, they went to look for a ring, Michael.
Okay, go on.
And again, that doesn't bode well for Henry being innocent in all of this, Michael. I would imagine Henry promised to wed someone and didn't deliver, and they went looking for a ring of theirs to cement the bond, if you were, and perhaps it didn't work out. But anyway, he's sobbing away, right?
Yeah. Then he meets a comely young lady.
Yes, and then there was Avery, so solid and real and gorgeous at the same time. Henry laid eyes on him, and in that moment Henry swore he would make things right. What happened that day would stay sunken down because Henry's twisted conscience was washed away by Avery's smile. Which is lovely.
Lovely young
Which is
lady.
lovely.
Anyway, they do the ride.
But then
in more boobies in the
but
comic.
then is followed up but then is followed up by a panel that says, "What a sick joke." And that gives you everything you need to know about the tone of this, Michael. Like a dream, Avery was there and gone, and then we get these bizarre panels of what I assume is Henry drowning his sorrows, Michael. But he's becoming one with the lake mud and the wattle and the wildlife around him. And he kind of gets lost in a sea of different lovers. So he's in a pub and he meets another person called Gina. And it becomes a series of grim trysts to try and get over his drowned love, Michael. And I think one of the awful things about this comic, or one of the unnerving things about this comic, is it does move like lapping water, and you feel yourself pulled into all these mini tragedies, and you watch them unfold, and you're always uncertain of whether or not Henry is a dick. And so it makes all his little trysts uncomfortable, because we wonder why he keeps losing lovers, and the answer is, I think he's probably killing them.
Or impregnating them
one
with
by
fish
one.
eggs.
Or impregnating them with fish eggs. So then he meets Gina, and he gives Gina the ride. And there's more riding and, Henry's and things like that. And then the story kind of becomes Gina's story. Poor Gina took a liking to them. People say they last saw her leaving with Henry before they both turned up missing a couple of weeks later. Dun, dun, dun. So the moral of the story, I suppose, is Henry's not a mourning lover and should rather be avoided, Michael, because if you go and spend some time with Henry...
Yeah. He'll
Probably not
impregnate you
coming
with
back.
frog spawn, you absolute freak. Benjamin, what in the heck
Yes.
is happening in that last panel? Maybe it's not the last panel, but the panel with the red figure on a bed. Is that someone lovemaking, or has someone turned inside out? What's going on there? To help me.
It's a frog.
Is that a big
a frog,
Show
Michael.
it to me there. I don't have it in front of me.
It's a person. It's definitely a person, but invoking, I think, the flat-bodied feeling of a little frog.
Yeah, what?
Very strange. But I think you know, the narrative tells us about two Henrys. One Henry that goes to the lake and mourns forever, and another Henry that walks about the town. And I think it's supposed to be a Jekyll and Hyde, you know, Henry's really a lover, but he has a bad side kind of thing. And then I suppose the story becomes very nightmarish, Michael, where Gina goes into the lake with a child, and the child is made of fucking fish eggs.
Frog spawn. Frog spawn, I thought, Ben.
Frog spawn. Yes, probably frog spawn, Michael. But grim stuff. And then, isn't he precious? Oh, honey, you're crying. And just let all the guilt sink like a stone. And then that final panel seems to be, again, Henry sleeping with someone and murdering them. And we finally understand that Henry is a bit of a dick.
Benjamin, I quite like this one because although narrative would be a stretch, this is not a narrative story. This is about atmosphere and
it's an experience.
Yeah, it's atmosphere and color and swampiness and, you know, weirdness. It's got that kind of liminal, dreamy feel of what? Yeah. There's two Henrys. What are you talking about? Who's frogs? Who is frogs? Who's frogs and who's not frogs? But it manages to still be compelling, I think, on the strength of the art, on the strength of the just the concept of it, the wateriness of it, how the watery colors tie in with the this is not a story. Let's be honest. Narratively, it feels like it doesn't intend to be a story. What
I really
go on
loved about this one is that it is one of the purest folk horror stories in that the fluidity of the story itself mimics gossip and hearsay in a town. Because the final line of this story is, but who's to say what happened that day down by the water? So it's a whole town of people saying that Henry's a bad egg, that Henry will murder you, that Henry murdered his child. You know, it's gossip in a visual form, and it's how tragedies, real life tragedies like this, at the heart of this is about a man who murders a lover, okay, which is tragic, right? Maybe, but it's how that takes on supernatural elements, like, you know, there was a Henry in the lake but also a Henry in the town, and there was a woman with frog spawn for a child, and, you know, it's a great unnerving, uncertain, ambiguous kind of misery. I quite liked it.
We see this. I think the kind of the two Henrys thing is really interesting because if you think about gossip and if you think about like when people lose a loved one, and then people are like, oh, he's so heartbroken, he's down by the lake all day, every day, looking for the ring. But then someone else says, I saw him in the pub having a great time. And almost like humans can't grieve 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if someone is happy the day after someone they loved died, even for a couple of minutes, people are like, oh, he's supposed to be sad. What's going on there? How very dare he laugh for a second? You know,
how dare he enjoy himself?
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird, gross, gossipy, social pressure stories. But Benjamin, look, fuck it, because the next story is pretty much just a straight story.
Yeah, Colin Clover, Michael. Colin Clover. And Colin Clover is brought to us by Vanessa Del Rey.
Which one is it?
Who is also featured in our 31 Tales. Very good. Michael's using a play on the word or and R, the letter. So this is Vanessa Del Rey is a Cuban artist, and she's quite well known for her really dark and gothic style. She pops up in a few different places. Most recently, Michael, she will be popping up on our 31 Tales of Terror. I won't spoil it, but today's post on the 27th of October is going to feature another story by Vanessa Del Rey. Her work is often painterly and very intense, and she works really well in horror and crime genres. She is a co-creator for a very, very popular comic called Redlands, Michael, which is kind of a bloody fantasy horror epic. It's very good.
Benjamin, this story
into that kind of thing
is the most straightforward. Here's an old-timey horror story about revenge and ghosts and, well, not ghosts in this case, fairy folk. A little bit of a twist in that it's set during the American Troubles. I don't know what they called the Troubles over there, but they seem to be, displeased with each other. And it's a bit of capitalism, a bit of social division, a bit of don't trust the fairy folk, a little bit of don't go in the forest.
Sure.
Maybe our Irishness gives us a kind of twist on the fairy folk story, but
yeah,
this is the sort of story we're told all day, every day, growing up.
This is a classic "don't let your kids near the fairies" kind of story, and so there's a couple of great elements in this, Michael. Again, this is a very folk horror focused one. There's almost a folk hero element to this one. These would have been common foundations for a lot of these kinds of stories, Michael, because it's set in a company town, Michael, and company towns were all over the West post frontier times, if you like. And company towns were very, very dangerous because what you would do is you would go out west to try and find work, and you'd find yourself in a company town, and you'd be paid what's called company scrip. And scrip was the money that the company ran on. But the problem with company scrip, Michael, is you can only spend it in one place. That's the company town.
Company town. They keep all the money then themselves, Ben. Very clever. Very mid-stage capitalism.
Very mid-stage capitalism, Michael. Very exploitative and very, very, very like indentured servitude, as we would have seen in Ireland for 800 years.
800 years! The real horror.
The real horror. And of course, Michael, unfortunately, this follows the death of a husband and the trial of a widow, as it were. He essentially goes where he shouldn't go, and then a bunch of town men, company men, come and they knock his shit in. They kill him. They shoot him through the head. And of course, the joke is that the moment he's no longer of use to the company comes and kicks his widow and child out. They're like, get the fuck out.
Get out of here. We're doing capitalism here. We've no time for this compassion shit.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, my condolences, as he hands her an eviction notice. And she says, in a very good line, his body ain't even cold in the dirt. And you're kicking me out of the town. But he can't make any money, so they're gone. So yeah. And it turns out, Michael, in the ultimate kind of late-stage capitalist punishment narrative, the reason that he was murdered is because he was a union agitator. He was trying to establish a trade union.
Fair enough then, I suppose.
Yeah. So that is pretty much how it goes. And in order to add further insult to the punishment for the widow, he says that anyone found to be aiding people associated with a union agitator will also be evicted from the town. So don't expect to find any help or shelter here.
Double get out of here, he says.
Double get out of here. And of course, Michael, what does she do? She leans on some form of vengeance and tries to find what she needs. And she goes into the forest, Michael. Don't go into the forest and make pacts.
Now, Benjamin, why is it that she knows about the fairy folk? Is this a bit of an immigrant tale? Benjamin, did you know the fairy folk were in North America? I didn't.
So, I mean, this is kind of the narrative that carries quite a bit, Michael, is that you take a piece of your culture with you. And in that sense, there is documented evidence that many Irish immigrants, for example, when they went to America, maintained a lot of the traditions that you would have seen in Ireland proper here. So this is a story of the Fae folk. And here in Ireland, one of the things that you have to remember is do your best to keep them on side, but don't go asking them for anything.
Don't go making any Faustian bargains, unlike Harold Remington Faust.
Yeah, don't do it. Here in Ireland, there are lots of different traditions. One of the most common ones back in the day would have been leaving a saucer of milk out or cream for the fairies, and they'd come along and they'd nibble on that. And essentially, Michael, what you would get in return for that was a boon, but not a boon that you might ask for. Or you wouldn't ask for a boon, you would ask for their favor, if that makes sense. And what that means is you'd have bountiful crops, you would have, healthy animals, there'd be no sickness in your herd, essentially. But it wasn't like enticing a bargain.
No.
It wasn't like going out and shaking hands and saying, here, I'll give you cream if you give me...
No. More like protection money.
Healthy herds.
They're like the underground supernatural mafia.
That is a great way of looking at it.
Yeah.
You're paying your protection money so they wouldn't fuck your shit up.
Yeah, leave us out a saucer of milk or we'll break your windows and your cattle. Ben.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though, right? If there's one thing you know about fairies, right? If you know not to be making deals with fairies, never strike a deal with a fairy. Because going back to the old musical instrument man, the big twist of that was a Faustian bargain where he was worse. But the twist of this is a Faustian bargain where it's exactly what happens when you make a Faustian bargain, you dumbass.
Yeah, you dumbass.
You know what you never do? You know what you never do? You don't leave your child in the care of the fairy folk. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's a stupid thing to do.
Yeah, don't do that. And also, don't agree to whatever price. Do not say the phrase anything when they talk about price.
You
That's a terrible
absolute
idea.
dumbass. Like, just even in the modern world of making deals, don't take one end of the bargain without knowing what the other end is going to be. That's bad advice. Are you going to hire a plumber and say to the plumber, look, would you fix my sink for me? And he goes, what's in it for me? And you say, whatever it costs. You're going to get shafted in that transaction. And that plumber isn't a fairy folk with a bag full of little divils. Oh, well, he might be.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things here, Michael, is those are referred to as the Yunwi Sundi.
What's that? What's that? Don't be making up
in
words.
this story. I know, but these are Native American or First Nations American folklore.
So it's not the fairy folk, or is it?
Well, I mean, it is in that there are stories everywhere about going down in the woods and dealing with otherworldly beings that are both capricious and powerful in nature and exact a price. And the same is true of the Yunwi Sundi in particular stories. Those were found usually in Cherokee stories, and they have a lot of magical powers, but they also harshly punish people who are disrespectful or aggressive towards them, which is exactly what you would expect. So it's a little bit of an immigrant tale, but it's also a story as old as America itself in that sense. But either way, this poor young one makes a dopey pact.
What a dope.
And she gets her revenge.
She does.
It. I love the little illustrations of the little kind of blue bottle men with multiple eyes that go in with spears and rend the company town to the ground, in a sense. But unfortunately, she gives up her child, as we might expect from the
dose. What a
harsh
dose.
payment
In
that
the
comes.
bin. Serves you right, you big dose. Benjamin. Now,
Yes.
let's move on. Why not? Why don't we?
Why not? Why don't we?
To the next one.
Right. So, folks.
Yeah.
If you've been enjoying the positivity episode so far, listen away. Listen away. We are now going to deal with another story in the anthology called La Cheta, or
Yeah,
La
go on.
Cheta.
Yeah.
And this one was brought to us by Celine Loup, who is a French illustrator and cartoonist. She is very well respected within Le Bon Dessiné.
Oh,
or
the European
comic books.
comics. So very good.
The European comics. And this is a strange kind of Italian story. And she publishes a lot of her own comics, horror being one of them, unusual goings-on, folkloric influences being another. One of her big wins was The Man Who Came Down the Attic Stairs, kind of a gothic horror story. And this one is set in Switzerland on the Italian border by the looks of the different flags that pop up at the start of it, and the dress of a few different people. And yeah, this is a tough read.
What the fuck is going on? What in the fuck is this about? I mean, broadly,
Yeah.
you can figure out what is going on. It's there appears to be a widow in town, and the
Yes.
widow is a very sexy widow, and she's seducing the
Yeah.
young men and killing them, and then
Yeah.
riding them in the sky to death, and then they fall out of the sky and get impaled on trees, but they're all warped and misfigured. Like, terrifying, but
Yeah.
a very sketchy. Very sketchy. Everything about this is so sketchy. And I don't mean sketchy as in the Irish meaning of sketchy of not trustworthy. It feels like a sketch. It feels like the story is a bit of a sketch. The characters are jumping about hither and fron. The art is so sketchy, and I don't know. I have to say, Benjamin, I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I was left more bewildered than getting any particular sense of atmosphere, or also the setting of kind of jaunty alpine Switzerland with people in the lederhosen and the straw
What's a
pipes
lederhosen?
and stuff. It jarred with the setting of the other stories, the Gothic atmosphere of most of them.
But Michael, to lederhosen.
The leder.
So, yeah, this is a tough one to tackle. This is not an entry level horror story, and requires. This is going to piss me off more than it's going to piss you off. But it requires a background in medieval narratives and medieval horror to tackle it and to understand.
You shut up.
What? Yeah, exactly. You shut up. You shut the fuck up, Ben. Is the correct response to this. This is a deeply European medieval narrative. And what I mean by that is, and in order to tackle it well, what I mean by that is there is witchy elements of this.
Yeah.
There are medieval Christian damnation themes to this.
Yeah.
And making sense of it means that you have to abandon what we would consider to be a contemporary narrative structure and delve into what was a medieval narrative structure. Now, Michael, I am of the opinion that if you have to do that much legwork to engage with a story that is essentially 8 pages long.
Yeah. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
just count them there,
5,
Ben, live
6,
on the podcast.
7, 9, 10, 11, 10 pages. I am of the belief that if you have to do that, probably not great.
It's putting too much pressure on the reader, you reckon? You're expecting too much. You're
like,
the one who's always complaining about the death of literacy.
I'm not complaining about the death of literacy. I think comic books are a great way to reinstill a sense of literacy in what we do. But Michael, if you'll indulge me a moment.
I will. I've been indulging you for nearly an hour, so what is a moment more?
You indulge me. You've been indulging me for years. We might
At this
argue,
stage,
Michael.
yeah.
At this stage, but yeah. So one of the things that helps to navigate a lot of the stories in this particular anthology is something called Adam Scoville's folk horror chain.
Adam Scoville, the inventor of the Scoville scale of hotness.
Unfortunately not.
Oh,
It could be Scoville. I'm not 100% sure. But it's not the Scoville scale of hotness.
All right.
Sadly. But there are 4 core links in the folk horror chain, Michael. And one is landscape. The other is isolation. The other is a skewed belief system. And then the kind of climax of any folk horror tale is the happening or the summoning. The entity that is flirted with throughout the narrative embodies itself.
The
landscape is key.
The witch, Ben.
Yeah, the witch is a great example. So the landscape is the first tenet of this, and it is a hostile environment that does not want to deal with humans. So most often in folk horror, that embodies itself as the wilderness. The Witch being a perfect example of that from Robert Eggers. They are a bunch of Puritans that find themselves in an environment that is not designed for humans to exist in with ease.
The lighthouse, Ben.
The lighthouse is another great example, Michael. Robert Eggers being a bit of a maestro of the folk horror genre. Isolation is the second key of that, Michael.
Benjamin.
The whole point is that
Nosferatu.
Yes, to some degree, but there's a little bit different, but we'll talk about that another time. Isolation in this particular case, Michael, means it is a community that is isolated from the rest of the world. A nice example of that might be, if we're looking for narratives, Midsommar is a good example. It is an isolated sect of humanity that has gone off in its own direction. The third part of this, the third link in the chain, yes.
Drogheda
being the key example there. The third aspect of this, Michael, is a skewed belief system. So it's not Christianity, it's not a formalized religious belief system, but something that has grown out of the landscape and isolation around them, Michael. The people in this isolated community believe in something that is far and away outside of standardized religious formats.
Now don't forget to say thank you to the mushrooms.
Yes. Exactly. Something like that would be a good example. They're usually pagan in origin, Michael. They're usually dealing with something older in modern folk horror interpretations.
The Wicker Man,
and then
Ben.
finally, Michael, the Wicker Man, Michael. And then finally, in the world of folk horror, there is the happening or summoning, where the entity that usually our protagonist has scoffed at throughout the story suddenly embodies or becomes part of the reality that he's dealing with, and he goes, oh Jesus fucking Christ, it was all real. The horror.
Black Phillip. I'm a goat.
Black Phillip. Black Philip the Goat. Now, folk horror is an evolution in some cases of medieval horror, and we can adapt that folk horror chain to better understand it. So landscape displacement, moral conflict, and happening and summoning are the 4 links for medieval ones. If we take this story, Michael, the landscape is this small town and hills in rural Switzerland on the Italian border. The displacement, on the other hand, is usually one of 3 things, Michael, within medieval narratives. And those 3 things are war, famine, or disease.
Plague.
Those are 3 huge displacing factors within medieval horror. And then moral conflict. So another important thing to understand about medieval stories in general is that there is a moral conflict, but not necessarily in the way that we would see it. It's not should I or should I not murder this man. It's should I ride this good man's wife, or should I go near a widow in a town?
Stay away from them sexy widows.
So.
Stay away from them sexy widows.
Yeah, stay away from sexy widows. Lust would be a huge temptation within medieval narratives. A great example of that would be Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, where he lusts after people and he's put through several purity tests in the narrative, and we think it's about him avoiding the fate of getting his head chopped off, but it's actually about him being chivalrous and not riding everyone. That's very much present in this narrative. And then finally, the happening and the summoning is the consequence. A supernatural being will judge you based on how well you did in your purity tests.
And they did quite badly in this one.
That's what's happening here. And it's fine, but I think it requires too much. Far be it from me, a man who doesn't make comics, Michael, but I think the narrative style is too loose when coupled with an abstract narrative format like medieval horror.
And an abstract art style. And a loose abstract art style.
Too much abstraction, not enough framing, and I think it makes it a difficult read. Also, it's not particularly scary because, in my opinion, you don't invest in any of the characters in a real sense.
I didn't even realise there were characters until the second time I read it.
Because it reads almost a little bit like a telenovela or a soap opera, Michael, in places, and it makes it very difficult for us to invest in the characters, and therefore very difficult for us to care, Michael. The framing is a bit messy, in the sense that, something's killing the children. Is it the widow? We see the widow once. We see a glimpse of the widow at the top of a classroom, and then suddenly she's a witch. And there's iconography in there of a devil's parade, and there's a lot of medieval depictions of witches riding on brooms or headless horses and stuff like that. So there's good elements there. I just don't think that they were laid out very well by Celine, Loup.
No,
and I think,
how dare you?
Yeah, I don't like to be negative, Michael, as you know.
Yeah, I didn't love this story either. It was like, that was a weird one. What's the next one going to be like? But the funny thing is, the next one is even less narrative. Just as
but
abstract. But it's an absolute banger.
An absolute banger, Michael. So the final tale in this wonderful anthology is by E.M. Carroll. And E.M. Carroll is what I can only describe as a bit of a superstar, Michael, of the horror genre.
Tell me some of the works of E.M. Carroll. God damn it.
Yeah, so they are a Canadian cartoonist and a bit of, as I said, a master. They're renowned for webcomics. They make webcomics, and in a very metatextual way, Michael, they play with the format of webcomics to deliver horror. So one of the most famous examples of this is their story, His Face All Red. And it's a giant scrolling webcomic, and the reader has to engage with it and continuously scroll. But the narrative is told in a descending format, like going through a pit.
No panels.
No panels, Michael. It's just one long thing. And it harnesses the use of the scroll wheel that we all
or a mobile phone
day
screen.
To day, or a mobile phone screen, and it's a great descending narrative.
Fabulous.
They've also written other excellent comics like Through the Woods, which is their own little anthology comic, and they've written When I Arrived at the Castle, which is a wonderful kind of erotic vampire narrative, very interesting. And then another comic that we've flirted with including on Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club, called A Guest in the House, which is a really interesting haunted narrative.
Now, Benjamin,
if you like,
there is a bloody story to this, but who cares? Because it's not really a story. It's just an excuse. Is it 4 pages or 6 pages?
4 pages.
It's just an excuse to do. Here is the best Gothic tattoo inspiration art you're ever going to see in your life.
E.M. Carroll has a stunning way of rendering the horror of the undead and the ghostly.
Yeah. But
they really do deliver.
These are cool, spooky, scary, hyper detailed undead. This is 90s metal album covers, but with modern detail and modern sensibilities. This is fabulous stuff altogether.
I think if we were to contrast it with the previous one, and I don't like to be too comparative, but this is one that embraces
it's the
a lot
Thief
of
of Joy, Ben,
as well. It is the Thief of Joy, Michael. But this is another story that embraces some very medieval concepts, particularly one, Michael, that you and I have covered extensively on other podcasts that we've been involved in. But the Wild Hunt is the folklore motif used in this particular one. And the Wild Hunt is something that we see across Germanic, Celtic folklore. The Wild Hunt is an augur of ill things to come, Michael. It's bad news. If you see the Wild Hunt, war is coming, misery is coming. It's not going to be a good time.
Do you think those skeleton people on those skeleton horses are a good thing or bad thing? Do you think should we keep an eye on that? The skeleton horses, the skeleton people on the horses, is that all right, do you think? Or something to worry about?
Probably fine.
Probably fine. Normal day.
Probably grand.
Normal day here in Bavaria in the medieval era.
But they are an embodiment, or they can be an embodiment of war, vengeance, comeuppance, punishment. If we go back to the Orcus narrative that we saw in the second story here, it's oath breaking or transgression of promises made. The Wild Hunt will come. It's a lack of xenia. If you want to go back to Greek myth, if you abuse hospitality, you will be visited by the Furies or something equal to that. It is a vengeance trope within mythology, if you want. But in this case, very much associated with hunting and the forest. It's the Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
And it seems to be one murderer being hunted down by their victim who now leads the Wild Hunt.
Yeah, but they're already dead as well. That's the thing. There's no living humans in this. There's nobody with skin on.
It's the dead across the board.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, where it seems to be that they're being hunted down, but I think they've already been hunted down. There's a timelessness to this of even the characters themselves are confused about what order things happened in, or who stabbed who, or why is the knife there, not there. There's no skin on people.
Again, Michael, one of the things that I love by Down by the Water is that it's almost a manifestation of the characteristics of a folktale. So folktales are told again and again and again, and you forget the order sometimes that things happened in, or one town tells the story a little bit differently from another town. And that's exactly what's happening here. There are protagonists and antagonists, but who killed who, and who leads the Wild Hunt, and who is the victim, and did they murder me first? Did I murder them first? Is this an act of revenge, or is this an unfair... it's beautiful in that eternal looping quality of folklore and folk horror, where it's like, oh, wait, did this go again? I remember hearing this story when I was a kid. I just can't remember the beats now as I'm older. It's fabulous. I really enjoyed this.
It also kind of has that feeling of like the moments, not that I've experienced this, but the moments just past death, where your, time and logic and sense have lost meaning. A dream-like, kind of like the dream of death, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
I think that's I think that's a perfect way of putting it. It's a bizarre world that we encounter in this one.
If it's even a world. It's not a world.
If it's even a world.
It's a plane of thought, or a plane of... Anyway, I'm being too... I'm making shit up now, but it's really good. It's really good. And like the great thing about it is it doesn't even matter if it makes sense. It would still be good even if it made no sense whatsoever, because the art is so good.
Good regardless.
Yeah.
Good regardless, Michael.
Yeah.
Look, a belter of a way to finish. Strong start, strong finish from this anthology, Michael. It's a great closing kind of darkness. I thought it was fabulous. I thought E.M. Carroll did a fantastic job of it.
Yes. Very good.
So that was Come Find Me. Those are the 6 tales within Come Find Me. And I think, Michael, bar one or two exceptions, a phenomenal job of building atmosphere, and a great testament to how comics can do horror different to other mediums.
Benjamin, look, let's not be too mean about the one about the evil witch, because with any anthology, take your shots. Take your shots.
Go for it.
Neither of us particularly vibed with it, to quote the young people. But there's going to be someone out there for whom that was their favourite part of this anthology.
And do you know what?
What?
Do you know what?
What?
More power to you.
More power to them.
More power to you.
They'll probably end up dead on a spiky tree, but that's fine. That's their own problem.
That's their own problem. They engage with the narrative. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
But come here to me. Maybe we were wrong about that story. Maybe you'd like to teach us why we were wrong about that story. There's a few different ways you can do that. You can leave us a comment if you're listening to us on Spotify. You can leave us a review if you're listening to us on Spotify. You can go down there and you can get in touch with us on Instagram at Collecting Issues and leave us a comment on any of the posts you find related to Come Find Me and Autumnal Offering. You can go and you can hop up on our Discord and talk to us directly and say, here, lads, I'm a noted medieval scholar. This is why you got this wrong. This is where you're getting this wrong.
His doses.
You got it wrong. His doses. By all means, let us know. But I thought this was an absolutely phenomenal little anthology. I thought it was a great little offering for Halloween. And I think it's suitable. You could pick this up and read it in an afternoon.
If you can
want
get
to
it.
send a chill down your spine. Off you can go. So I did actually, Michael, I'm very annoyed. I did actually buy it. I tracked it down on eBay, and I have a physical copy of this comic, and it's glorious because they do a slightly wider format of Distillery. They're bigger comics, and it's glorious. It's a great way to look at the artwork. Unfortunately, I forgot it before travelling up to Belfast, and so it's sitting down below in Dublin, and I had to use a digital copy instead. But it's fabulous. Great work from Becky Cloonan, really bringing her brand of eerie, unnerving, atmospheric horror to a whole new audience with brand new creators. And yeah, I just thought it was very, very good. But let us know what you thought. Let us know what you thought. We are in the process of picking our November and December comic as we close out the year. On a personal level, Michael, this has been a full year of Collecting Issues returning to the airwaves.
Collecting Issues 2.0, one whole year.
One whole year. And this marks our 12th offering within the year, which means we've been bloody consistent for an entire year. One of the front runners for our November comic book is a return to our superhero origins, Michael. We might be taking a look at Local Man, the comic by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, which features around, it's a parody kind of the 90s Image Comics era of Wildstorm and things
great.
like that.
Let's do that.
And the comics. So it's Local Man, and we'll be taking a look at volumes 1 and 2 of Local Man. And it's about a small town hero that was part of an X-Force style superhero team once upon a time. Pouches galore. But he finds himself on the outs with the superhero teams, and he has to go back to the local town that he started in.
Oh no. We've all been there.
And it's kind of an interesting take on that. So Local Man is probably going to be our November read, but we still need mini reads, and we still need December picks.
Send them to us.
Send them into us.
Send them into us. How else are we supposed to know?
To us. How else are we supposed to know? If you haven't had your fill, folks, of Halloween adjacent stuff, why don't you check out Zatanna Bring Down the House, which was published a mere 2 weeks ago and features a great look at DC's Magician Supreme. But yeah, go and join all the stuff down below. Take a look at all our stuff. Go on, go do that.
Go on, have a look at it. Go on.
Go on.
Go on.
Scram.
Hop it. Git.
Bye.
See ya.